A very good morning to everybody here. Good morning. Are you all ready for the day? Okay, good, great, thank you. My name is John Sham, and I'll be the MC for most of the event today. And it's going to be a long, busy, but very exciting day. So let's get started. So very big thank you and warm welcome to all you ladies and gentlemen. A round of applause for yourself, for waking up early, having taken leave from work, rushing back from holidays, braving the traffics in Klang Valley. Thank you for your kind attendance. Today is a day with Etienne Bossot. All right. It is our privilege and honor to have Mr. Etienne Bossot here, invited by MAPG Malaysia. All right. A lot of people would like to ask what is MAPG. So MAPG stands for Malaysian Advanced Photographers Group. All right. For anything further, I'll leave it to my friend Wei Tat to tell you more about it. Anyway, one big round of applause for Mr. Etienne Bossot. Yay! Thank you, thank you. A very warm welcome to Mr. Etienne too. Thank you for being here with us. All right. Following this, I would like to extend our MAPG's gratitude and thanks to the following members whom we invited, and they are gracious enough to attend this morning's event. They are Encik Zulkifli Hamzah, Principal of Oasis Gallery. Thank you. Kindly give your applause as I read out the names. Mr. Ng Wei Lee, President of Selangor and Kuala Lumpur Photography Association. Mr. Denise Lim, President of Segamat Photography Society. Mr. 82 and friends. Mr. 82 and friends, kindly stand up so that you know. Mr. 82, yes, thank you. Mr. Lin Kui Ming, representative of Photography Society of Malaysia. Thank you. And Miss Maureen Jeffrey and friends. Miss Maureen Jeffrey. Okay. And also Mr. Lee Hong Leng, representative of Malaysian Nature Society. Thank you. Okay, welcome, gentlemen. Welcome, Miss Maureen. Also, an extended welcome and thank you to our fellow MAPG members and friends. Thank you for being here. Thank you for helping out, preparing the stage and the event for today. And last but not least, a very big thank you to Mr. James Yuan and Miss Mi Ling. They are the founders of MAPG. A round of applause for them. Okay, without further ado, I would like to start off with today's events by calling upon Mr. Chong Wei Tat of MAPG to give his welcoming speech.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Very happy to see so many familiar faces here, and I know many of you have taken a lot of trouble to come here on a Monday morning. Some of you have traveled as far as obviously, Etienne has come all the way from Vietnam, and we have people coming from Penang. I understand there are some people from Johor, and I think it's very heartwarming that you all have taken so much, of your time and effort to actually make it here. Now, I'm going to start off to try and explain what the MAPG is. And And I think it's something that the definition of MAPG is something that has been sort of evolved and defined, and I think we are in a position now where we are very clear about the mission and vision of the group. And so let me start in the sort of how this came about. James and myself met back in 2016 during a meeting of photographers. We really hit it off. Somehow, you know, like James is a very effusive person. You sit next to him, he's very, you know, like first 5 minutes you don't know what to make of him. After that, you find that he's someone that you can, you can, relate very warmly to. And I think all of us have that experience in our own way. Okay? We're both passionate of photography, and that's something that we identified very clearly, early on when we sort of met. And before the idea of starting the initiative, we felt that there was a niche in Malaysian photography which was in dire need of development. Although there were many hobby clubs, there were many serious photography communities, competitive photo enthusiast group. Photography in Malaysia was not really evolving, and it wasn't evolving into a recognized art movement. And this is what the MABG is all about. Original ideas need a permanent to germinate, and we saw this as an important role for the MABG to play. MABG was initiated on September 4th, 2017, with James' vision of bringing together motivated and talented Malaysian photographers to provide a platform in order to elevate their work onto the fine art photography world stage. In that regard, we have organized activities, workshops, and brought together multidisciplinary subject matter experts to establish a structured protocol to produce artist work. How to shoot, to curate, to frame, caption, and present one's work. I think this is the area of photography that, prior to sort of my own sort of induction to MAPG, I don't think, I had that discipline. We all thought, just shooting photos, being able to Photoshop, and being able to post photos onto Facebook and getting liked. I think, with the MAPG, we sort of structured that a lot more to realize and appreciate that photography, to do it justice, has a lot more that we can actually do. We have to present the work in the best light, and we have to exhibit it, and we have to, establish it as an art piece. Okay. Now, it might appear like something's trivial, right? This might appear trivial in simple description, but any member who has gone through the process of sort of trying to describe your work, trying to define your work, trying to caption your work, would know how difficult it is to plumb into the depth of one's soul and undistorted intentions to come up with an honest description and true representation of your work. Yeah? I think we've gone through a few workshops. I think many of us, when put in that position, it's much more difficult to do than said. Yeah? To actually caption a piece of work, I think, if you're in front of the computer in the middle of the night, posting onto Facebook, versus something that you're going to be putting up on the blank wall with thousands of visitors to come and critique your work, I think, that thought process is very different. Yeah? The MAPG provides the artist images a chance of greatness where every member is equally respected, aims to be inclusive in terms of forms, interact, stimulate dialogue, explore concepts and techniques to share, to experiment in each member's journey. We need to be selective in our membership, to maintain a harmonious and incubative environment for artists to share and allow their creations to bloom. Therefore, membership in the MAPG is by invitation only, and we constantly review our membership profiles to ensure that we are growing with the right people on board. The MAPG is not a commercial entity. Yeah, I think we need to stress that, because I think when we started, there's much speculation about the MAPG is. And I think that today I'd like to make that statement very clear. It's not a commercial entity. It is a privately funded initiative funded by a CSR program from Hong Kong, led by Mr. James Yen and his wife as our patrons. The MAPG collaborates with KL photographers, that's myself, Ilford, Wesley Wong, Mark Liao, and the Oasis Art Village to enable these workshops and exhibitions to come to life. The MAG is free and independent, And it's not tied to any camera brand which has its own commercial agenda in offering its patronage. One of the observations of most photography societies in Malaysia is that it is dominated by older and senior members. I'm no exception to that. There is little opportunity for young people's work to be noticed and developed. We endeavor to have more young people below the age of 30 participating and groomed by the MAPG. We currently actively have members as young as 16 years old all the way to 76 years old in our membership group. So that's just to show you the diversity we have in our group. At the MAPG, you see many young talents being groomed to exhibit their work. We are also grooming capable young people to take on the complicated process of organizing and producing exhibits so that we develop core competence in being able to stage world-class events and exhibitions. Today, you can see a number of them. You see Neil, yeah? You see John, yeah? And you see quite a number of young people actively, not just exhibiting their work, but actually in the process of bringing photography to the world stage through exhibition. Since its inception, the MAPG has organized many significant events, namely, we did the Photo Power Talk in March at Pearl Hotel, artist presentation workshop in April at the Ilford Gallery downstairs, and today we have Etienne Bosson's workshop. Yeah? So that shows that we are constantly having activities and evolving. Exhibitions are platforms to engage our members with collectors, schools, colleges, students to exchange ideas and to expand artists' creative envelope. In August this year, the MLPG will be organizing an exhibition in a 9,000 square foot gallery, showcasing work from 4 photographers, 4 artists, and an art installer. We believe this is going to be a first of its kind in terms of concept and scale. It also underscores that the MAPG is serious about its mission and is committed to exhibit the works of its members. The exhibition will be one of many milestones that will continuously evolve to eventually take our work to the international work stage. Yeah. So I think that it's a bit lengthy, yeah, and it's taken me quite a few evening sessions with James to try and sort of put this into something that I can actually articulate. So as the backdrop of today's workshop, this delves straight into what we are trying to do. Etienne, I've just met him last night, and he comes across as a very personable person, very honest, and no frills or no plans, but he is the real deal. Etienne Bossot has over 10 years of running a photography workshop called Pics Asia. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but from looking at his photograph, you can see, he's very passionate about his work. He doesn't get into equipment. He doesn't talk about things that are superfluous. But it's very much the essence of photography. I like his curiosity. He doesn't emphasize photography, but he emphasizes understanding people and culture. And even when I met him for a brief period yesterday, I think that came across very apparently to all of us. I think for some of you have attended his workshop 2 years ago, I can still see there's a very strong, there's still a very strong camaraderie, and many of you have a lot of strong affection towards Etienne for the work that he has done. And I think that is very evident. Yeah? His work is very authentic, and I like the fact that he puts a bit of humor in the work. Just put things to a bit of light perspective. And I think I look forward very much to learn from Etienne today, and further in the future, I hope to come to one of your workshops in Hoi An. So with that, I'd like to thank all of you, and I hope all of you have a wonderful, productive day today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wei Tak. Next, we call upon Mr. Wesley Wong of Ilford Gallery to give his welcoming speech.
Good morning to all. So for those who are still celebrating Selamat Hari Raya, Salam Aidilfitri. So we have already entered New Malaysia for more than a month, and there's no old people here. All right, everyone is young, regardless of age, because our Prime Minister is 93. We know that. So It's indeed a privilege to be able to collaborate with MAPG. And on behalf of Ilford Gallery, I would like to thank your patron, Mr. James Nguyen, and also the committee members of MAPG in Malaysia to make this possible. Frankly speaking, I do not know Etienne until I saw his profile, and it's indeed a privilege to know how much you have spent your time in Asia, or in Southeast Asia in particular. I can't imagine myself doing something similar in a Western country, right? Maybe because I miss the food here, right? So now, what is more important is that Ilford Gallery opens up a platform and to collaborate, to open up a platform to collaborate with many photography communities and even camera brands or even any photographic brands in particular, to enable, to serve as a bridge for Malaysian photographers to have access to exhibition space, education, and incubation. That's what we strive at Ilford Gallery. As you know, Ilford is a 140-year-old camera brand, and we are privileged to have the first Ilford Gallery in the world based in Oasis. Now, as part of our collaborative effort, we are in a way, we have to put on some anchor brands to help us get started. And also, not because of biasness, but because of what we believe in, the values, the collaborative values that we can derive on a win-win situation. So, for some of the brands like X-Rite, ISO, Epson, Profoto, Wacom, these are our key technology partners. Key meaning they are rather exclusive under the roof of Ilford Gallery. Now, what it means is that it translates into more understanding and accessibility of knowing what they can do for fellow photographers, right? You know, people has been branding me as Wesley, someone very technical. Well, true enough, I have to admit that I'm a trained engineer. So having said that, is that how do we actually relate all these technologies, and whether hardware, software, to make it relevant to photography in its art form today? We cannot deny the fact that everything is digital, right? And with digital comes heavy responsibilities as well, right? The speed and the amount of images that we can transmit per second these days is just mind-boggling, right? But the responsibility of what we transmit is also mind-boggling, right? So having all these technologies in place does help us in our work to get move our work to a higher level, but we have to make it relevant, all right? You don't need to know every little nitty-gritty about color management, but you need to know colors. You need to understand how to manage it, right? So we also are privileged to have camera brands to be collaborating with us, not because we are tied down with them or rather the other way, is because they believe in the value that we promote at Ilford Gallery. So our non-exclusive participating brands are Sigma and Fujifilm at this point of time. So we open up our avenue for their user groups to come in. Sigma in particular, as you know, I've been a Sigma user for the last 5 years, and I've been conducting numerous monthly gatherings, but not for this year because I'm so busy with Jigle Art and Ilford Gallery. Fujifilm is something that's new because they see a point of collaboration, especially on the printmaking, to bring some of their latest technology to be relevant again to the photography industry, namely the medium format cameras. Right. So we serve as a bridge again between academy, between communities to technologies and brands. So this is probably the only avenue where you can have so many brands under one roof, and you get to try, you get to play, you get to understand how it works for you, right? And what is more important is that Ilford Gallery promotes crafting your art, making your own print. So please do not come and look for me at Ilford Gallery because I will never make a print for you, right? So you come to Gilbert Gallery to craft your own work, to make your own prints. I'm so proud to have Barry Ong exhibiting his work, and 85% of his work are printed by him, right? So that is really something quite revolutionary, right? Okay, so I won't bore you with this because I will be putting the hammer to the nail at 2:30 during my speech, and that's where you will start to hate me, and yeah, ask me questions then. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wesley. Next, we shall invite Mr. Ng Wei Lee, President of Selangor and Kuala Lumpur Photography Association, for his welcoming speech.
Thank you, MC. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to all the photographers. 大家早上好. First of all, I'd like to congratulate MEPG for hosting such a big event and inviting Mr. Etienne to come all the way to give us a wonderful talk about street photography. So let me introduce myself. My name is Willie. I'm from Selangor and Photography Society. So we're actually a business association. So we actually encourage the business part of photography. So the way I look at photography is that we should not think that we are photographers. We should think that all of you are an artist, because only artists, then you can command the value. If you think yourself as the photographers, so you'll be just facing the price issue. So for us, we also encourage photographers to print and to exhibit. I believe that this is the full circles of photography, because if you don't print, you're not going to see the value of the photos, and the photos are actually very priceless. So once again, I'd like to congratulate MPPG. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ng. All right, now we shall invite our Mr. Etienne Bosot to give us his talk on composition. Mr. Etienne, please.
So, I am here today to talk to you about creativity. James asked me to come here to discuss creativity with you, because a lot of things we can find related to photography. If you learn photography online, if you try to find resources to improve your photography, it's always about composition. How do you compose, and rule of thirds, etc. I am not here today to talk to you about rule of thirds, but about creativity. I am myself, I'd like to share something with you. I am in the middle of a creativity crisis. Like a lot of photographers, creativity is up and down and up and down. It's been about 6 months that I know I need to find a new breath, a new inspiration for my photography, and I am working on this. So I hope we can together maybe find clues to find out how can we improve, how can we increase our creativity and come up with more unique images, and how can we start bringing our own vision into our photography. I picked up my first camera 10 years ago when I moved to Vietnam. Never touched a camera in my life before, and if you ask me 10 years ago, and if you still ask me today, I believe I am the least creative person. I was in high school, all my friends were drawing and painting and designing. I was just gonna hang out outside, look at the birds. It's not something I thought I would be good at, being creative. But then I picked up the camera and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it for different reasons that we're gonna talk about later on. But this pushed me to try and get better, to get a better photographer, and to try to unconsciously come up with more creativity. The thing is, we don't wake up one morning feeling creative. You get out of bed, I'm so creative today, I'm going to come up with this amazing, unique composition. It doesn't work like this. I believe there are tools to help us, bringing us to the path of creativity. And one of these first tools is, of course, composition. So as I mentioned before, I'm not going to go through the basic composition techniques that you can find. Just Google it. You'll find thousands of articles and YouTube videos explaining you about basic composition things. I want to show you the way I look at composition. Because if you learn to look at things a different way, you're going to learn to see things a different way. And by seeing things a different way, it's going to help you to capture things a different way with your camera. Okay, I'm not teaching you anything here, okay? But this is the basic. Photography is about capturing the light. This is what it means. And for me, if you ask me what kind of photographer I am, I'm going to tell you, I photograph the light. What I do is walk around and try to find some interesting light. I walk around a shipyard in Dhaka and I see 3 people working and one of them is in the light. That's interesting. I try to capture this nice light. I wake up very early in the morning. I wait for sunset before I continue to shoot. But in my opinion, to me, if there is no great light, it's going to be more difficult to come up with more compelling images. When I see the weather this morning in Kuala Lumpur, I'm thinking tomorrow's workshop is going to be a bit more hard work with the light we have. Walking around a market in Yangon, woman selling eggplants. It's just a woman selling eggplants, but there was this big tarp reflecting the light right on her. And the colors, great, yeah? Colors working together. I'm sure Wesley is going to talk to us about colors later. But it's all about capturing the light. So this is the most important thing. As a photographer, the first thing you need to do, I believe, is to teach your eyes to see the light. Your camera cannot capture what your eyes can see. Your eyes have a better dynamic range that your camera has. You need to see what light is going to work for you. What light is going to give you the best textures in the shadows, in the highlights, without overexposing or underexposing, etc. So this takes a bit of time, but in order to do that, you need to photograph a lot. I started my photography by shooting everything. Oh, look at this, look at this, look at that. And I realized quickly that this light didn't work, but this light gave me interesting results. Can try to learn to deal with harsh lights, okay? Try to shoot with harsh light, with soft light, etc. We're going to talk about that tomorrow during the workshop. Anyway, once I see the light, the most important thing to me after that is to look at the surroundings of my subject. Because after all, if you only focus on your subject, you're going to say, oh, here's Wesley. I'm going to point and shoot. Oh, April is here. Oh, everyone. And I'm going to stay where I am and take a photo, and things are not going to be really interesting. So if you pay attention to your surroundings, this is what will really increase your creativity. This is what will give you different angles. Okay? If I like the mountains, the water behind, if I like the ripples around him, I'm going to include some of the ripples in the foreground, some in the background. So this will basically tell you how to frame. I like this green fishing net. I wanted this green fishing net in my background. Everything else was a distraction that forced me to cut both of my subjects in half. Because if I included more of them, I would have some red plastic baskets behind. Seeing this woman in the market, I was about to take a picture when I realized there was someone carrying something with the same color as her in the foreground. But you will not see these things if you look at your subject. What I'm trying to push people to do on a workshop, on a tour, is once you find your subject, stop looking at it. You will have time later to spend with your subject, to chat with them, to interact with them, to wait for the right moment. But everything else is more important. Important for your composition and important for the story you have to tell. Same thing here, yeah? Another example, fishing net, the green on the pink of a hat, but I really wanted to keep only the fishing net in the background, lots of distractions on the side, and when I teach photography to people, a lot of Western people coming to Asia for the first time, everything is messy. Sorry to say, guys, but there is a lot of things happening in Asia. Plastic bags, people everywhere, traffic, colors, etc. It can be a mess, so I really try to push people to simplify things, to start with. And only once you find these things, only once I found the best light and I put it in the right place, in the right angle, I found the right background, I found the right foreground, I found my frame. This is how I'm going to frame my subject. Only then I will spend my time waiting for the moment. My subject could be just standing, and my subject sees me come with my camera, and they stop, and they pause, and they look at me, and they have a chat. And I'm going to wait, I'm going to analyze the scene, I'm going to see how the light plays on their faces, I'm going to try to see what's going on around, what action I can anticipate, and then I will wait for things to happen. Wait for the body gesture of my subject to give me an extra dynamism. Someone, mostly on a silhouette, someone just standing like this looks like a black sausage. Yeah? You need to create the shape, you need to create the dynamism, the action that will bring the extra plus on the picture. Mostly photographing people. So something, sorry, I forgot to say at the beginning, I am a people photographer. This is where my interest is. I love Asia because Asia has a lot of people. Okay, a lot of you are landscape photographers, a lot of you are wildlife photographers, nature, still life. Fine. I like people, so I'm going to talk about people. I'm going to show you examples about people photography. Of course, the genres can merge, the lines are very blurred, and we can apply these things to, I believe, any type of photography. Waiting for the moment when there's emotion happening on your subject face. That woman was just standing there, doing nothing. And as she put her veil back on and closed her eyes, I saw something happening. And I took the shot, and the fact that her eyes are closed created a little extra emotion. Then it could have just been what I call a boring portrait. Yeah, we're going to talk about that later. The moment when the action is happening, the moment that will tell the story of what your subject is doing, but only after finding the foreground, the background, the right light, you have to wait for the moment. So subject comes very last. Crashing the party, I call that, yeah? Arriving in a tea shop in Sri Lanka, very, very busy tea shop. People come in, grab a tea, go out. So we come in, we grab a tea, and everyone stares at us like, are you going to leave now? Lots of people are waiting. So I started grinding coffee. This is my go-to thing when I travel. I travel with my coffee from Vietnam because it's great, my coffee grinder. And everyone comes and stares at what we do. And the owner of the tea shop was very interesting. So we grinded some coffee. I was with a friend. We grinded some coffee and we asked her for hot water. We made our own coffee and we gave her a cup. And she was very happy. And then we sat there and she was not waiting for us to leave anymore. We're like, okay. She was like, thank you. So we become friendly with her. And then it was all about waiting for the right people to come in, waiting for the right people to sit in the right place, to create more interesting composition and then wait for the moment. Things take time, and I will talk to you about that later. If it was easy, we would not be here today, right? Yeah? Anyway. Exactly what I said before. So, you need to learn to see things a different way. You need to learn the technical parts of photography. How your camera works, how your lens works, etc. But this is not important. I am the least technical photographer ever. Don't start talking to me about diffraction and lens and best aperture, things like this. I want something sharp, I close my aperture. I want something out of focus, I open my aperture. I use 3 apertures. I use widest, middle, closed. I keep it simple because I want to be ready to catch the moment. The inspiration that comes to me from street photography. So I am a travel photographer. This is what I do. I get my inspiration from street photography. I try to do street photography. I am not good at it, but I think street photography brings us the inspiration to be fast, to capture the moment, and to try to connect the things we see, to connect our layers. And in my opinion, it's the most difficult field of photography. And when it's difficult, this is when we are out of our comfort zone. And this is when we learn things. Anyway, that was my quick introduction to composition. I will talk to you about other things later that lead to, hopefully, greater creativity. But the first step is to learn to be creative with your composition. If you look at things a different way, you're going to compose a different way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Etienne. There'll be more from him later on, but for now, we shall invite Miss Constantio and John Key as well, together with Mr. Etienne, to have a dialogue. Okay, now this dialogue is going to be interesting. They're going to ask questions, and Mr. Etienne will try to answer them in his way, from his vision. And let's see what we could take from this dialogue session.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Jonathan Key. I'm here together with Constance.
Hi, my name is Constance. Good to have you on
Thank
with
you.
us today, Etienne.
So, a lot of us already know what composition is. So, what Etienne has already provided to us is more of the creative aspects of it. So, it's very insightful on how you look at things differently. So, I know a lot of people are already thinking about the technical aspects. So, let's get that out of the way first, all right?
Thank you.
I know you are not a technical person, so first question that came to mind when I look at all of these, especially the decisive moment, was what if I want to get a certain element within it? Do you like blast it like continuous shutter speed, or do you just wait for the decisive moment in single?
Photography has evolved in the recent decades because we went from film photography to digital photography, and photography style has evolved. Some things you can shoot today were more difficult to shoot before. Because I photograph people and I look for people in busy situations. I like people who are busy working, not just sitting on a chair doing nothing, because it tells more story, because it's more dynamic, because people move. You cannot just go and take one frame. You're gonna spend $3,000 on a great camera. You got the newest piece of technology in your hand. Why would you take one photo? It doesn't make sense. If you want to take one photo, get back to a film camera. Okay? You have good technology, you can shoot burst mode, you can shoot fast. Of course, you don't shoot like spray and pray, hoping you're gonna get a shot. But if you shoot people photography, fast moving actions, you cannot just take one picture. Of course, I always try to refrain people from taking too many photos. What would simplify things is what I explained before about composition. If I am ready with my frame, if I have analyzed the scene, if I know what I want in my background, what I want in my foreground, where the light is from, I could just be waiting in one spot for my subject to do something, for the right action to happen, and I would not have to go around and shoot every single angle. Because you're going to waste your time doing that, you're going to waste your energy, and you're not going to spend enough time on the best angle, the one you should find that will tell a more compelling story. If that could help.
I'm gonna summarize. Basically, focus your attention.
Focus your attention, but don't be shy to use the technology you have in your hand. Yeah?
Excellent. All right.
Etienne, can you elaborate or share with us when you take people out on your photo tours and you happen to encounter bad light? Yeah. So what do you do with it? Deal with the time? How do you inspire people in that way?
So, what is bad light? That's what I think we should define. Because a bad light for me might be a good light for you. It depends on what kind of photography you do. For me, a bad light is a light which doesn't have the right contrast. If it's too cloudy, the light is too soft. There's not much difference between the highlight and the shadows. If it's in the middle of the day, on a sunny day, the light is too harsh. It's very contrasty, very black, very white. For me, a light that works is a light which has a very good contrast. And I am a travel photographer. I'm looking for the pretty picture. And for the pretty picture, you need a pretty light. So I'm really working on the very good light. When the light is not working for you, maybe your job as a photographer is to try to recreate the contrast. So if I'm working in a village and it's very cloudy and I'm not happy with the light, I'm going to try to frame someone in front of their door, for example. Someone standing in front of the door will be lit by the sky, but in front, behind them, in the house, it's really dark. So we got dark, we got light, we got contrast again. There are other ways to do that, maybe to go very close. That's when you do close-up portrait. A very soft light is really good for a close-up portrait, for details of the hands of my subject, etc. Not really good for a landscape shot. That's the good thing with people photography. My friend Chuck would wake up in the morning in Penang and it's cloudy. Yeah, you can just go home, yeah, I guess. If you shoot wide landscapes. For people photography, I wake up in the morning and the light's not right. Well, let's go indoor. Let's get into people's house. Let's go into a market. Let's try to find details. Let's try to find close-up, colors, textures, shapes. There's always new things to do. And that's the time you learn. You're struggling. You're like, this is terrible. I don't know what to do. It's difficult. You're going to pick up something on that morning. You're not going to come home with great photos, but you're going to learn something that you will be able to apply it for next situation and come up with something interesting.
Yeah, that's very inspiring to just hear you talk about how to capture the light. But do you think capturing the light is something that you're born with it, or can you teach a person how to capture light, how to see light?
So I was doing a photo tour in central Vietnam one week ago, and my friend Dylan and I was telling the group, okay, look for the best light. We'll go around the market, look for the best light. And this girl who was on the tour came to me and said, what is good light? So back to the basics, What is good light? What is good light for you? What is good light for me? It's different. To me, good light is light that will give me the best colors, will give me the best exposure, will give me the best rendering in my shadows, in my highlight, depending on the situation. This only comes with practice. I will talk about that later, but I'm sorry to say, for the more beginners of you, there are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts in photography. And we're going to talk right after the questions about the ethics of travel photography. But if you use shortcuts, it's not going to work for you. As a photographer, you learn by shooting, failing, hating yourself, people hating your work, but the passion telling you, okay, I'm going to wake up again, and I'm going to go back again, and I'm going to try better. So that's how you learn to see the light, yeah? Just practicing.
So it's back to the grind for all of you. So what I understand from what you mentioned is good light for you may be bad light for me, and vice versa. So that basically means that I need to find my own creative style from that, because it may not be equivalent to what you are doing. Yeah. So based on what you have told, have you like developed any good or bad habits in your shooting?
Yes. So lots of bad habits.
Yeah,
okay.
I want to hear that.
Yeah. So photography is mostly when photographing people. You want to be fast. You want to be reactive. You want to be efficient. You arrive in a scene, lots of things happening. Your tour guide tells you, we got half an hour here, go shoot. 20 people fighting around, running around, moving the machine and the smoke and everything. You have to be fast and efficient. So there's something for that I call creating your own photography template. I have my own photography template because I've been shooting a lot in Asia for the last 10 years. If I arrive in a scene and I see 3 people in front of a nice background, well, for me that works. Like, I'm going to try to frame these 3 people in front of a nice background, create a triangle through the frame that will lead my eyes, etc. If I end up in another situation, I'll be quick to compose a certain way because this is something I've done before and I think it works for me. That's the bad habit. It's going to make me more efficient and faster to analyze a scene and to try to capture something, but I'm going to end up with the same pictures. If I compose the same way, the people will be different, the background will be different, but my photo will look the same. So the bad habit is to compose the same way. Okay? So you need to find ways to break these templates and to come up with new things. And we're going to talk about that later on, the creativity part.
A note came to me. If you keep shooting the same way, then you have created your style. So would it be okay to stick to your style or try to recreate it every time you get inspiration?
This is very personal. This is very, very personal. I will use a comparison here. I don't know, we have any chef in the audience? People who love cooking? For me, yeah. For me, there's a chef and there's a chef. The same way there's a photographer and there is a photographer. You're gonna cook some amazing pasta carbonara and people love them and they will come back to eat your pasta carbonara. Personally, after 3 years of cooking pasta carbonara, I'm gonna tell myself, maybe I should try something else. This is personal. Some people are happy shooting the same thing, and if it's your case, it is fine. But I'm trying to evolve. We are people. Okay, you're not the same person you were 2 years ago. Your tastes have changed. You have changed. We're getting older. Oh, it's more difficult to wake up in the morning, to lay down on the floor, to take photos. The place we should have changed. Okay, Kuala Lumpur looks very different than 10 years ago. You cannot be shooting the same thing. It wouldn't make sense. We evolve. Everything evolves. Everything changes around us. Going to try to capture a photo you took 10 years ago in the street of Kuala Lumpur is not going to work. The wall is different. There's a big skyscraper next to it. So, by pushing yourself to try to photograph something different is when you're going to try to push yourself to be more creative and learn something.
Etienne, can I just ask you this question? You have many templates in your compositions. Have you, just now you mentioned that you are facing some sort of a plateau or in your career. Can I just ask you, during shooting, you've run out of ideas before?
All the time. For me, it's a 3-year thing. It's a 2 or 3 year thing. 3 years ago, I was fed up with my photos. I was on the plateau. I was realizing I was taking the same photos over and over again. So I thought it was time to change, and I tried to change. I tried to use a different lens with a different aperture. So basically, I don't know, it makes sense, but I used to shoot 50mm with really wide apertures. I used to take a lot of portraits, very shallow depth of field. I really like this. I thought it was time to stop, so I tried to stop. I took my 50mm and I shot at f8. And after 30 seconds, I was like, oh, wait, let me just take a photo at f2 here. It's gonna be nice, I like it. I just couldn't do it by myself because I'm too lazy. You have to push yourself. So what did I do? I changed my camera system. And I bought a Fujifilm camera. And I bought a 35mm, a 23mm, so equivalent to 35. And I shot at f8. And I was not allowed to open my aperture, and I hated myself for the first 3 weeks. I was in Myanmar, first time with this camera. The first 2 weeks, I was like, what am I doing with this thing? Where's my Canon? Where's my wide aperture? 2 weeks later, I decided I would never touch my Canon again. I was happy. I found something new, and I loved it. It's been 2 years now, and that new thing that I loved, I'm still doing it now. And I'm thinking, okay, here's a time maybe to do something else. So it's personal. Some people are not ready to be pushed around. Some people are not ready to get out of their comfort zone. They want to shoot their thing because their mom will like it on Facebook. It's fine. But if you want to be a bit more on the creative, on the artistic side, you need to evolve. You need to try to push yourself and get to the boundaries of what your own vision is.
All right. You were talking about Facebook. So one thing I would like you to hear from you is we have a lot of audiences, different audiences, as well as where we plan to publish our photos, fine art, galleries, Facebook, Instagram, as well as selling it in commercial and things like that. My question to you is, how would you go about planning and your thoughts on it, on the composition and the methods? How different would it be, and how does it relate to your shooting style?
So, I am a travel photographer. I make my living from running photography workshops. And I shoot weddings, I shoot hotels and resorts and food, but this is just
on the side. I have less and less time to do that. So I do not need to create a photo because people will like it. I don't need to sell my photo. I don't need to... And I believe I need to have good photos. If people look at my photos and think that crap, they're not going to come on my tour because they don't think I can teach them anything. But I can afford to be creative. If I'm hired to shoot a cover for a magazine, I'm going to think maybe I should shoot vertical. Maybe I should leave some negative space to add some text on it. So of course, depending on the type of photography you do, you're going to shoot different things. Something I've done recently, I've done that on Facebook and I actually need to do that on Instagram, is I have different accounts. On Facebook, I have Pics of Asia, which is my business name, which are nice travel pictures that I know people will like, photos of people on the workshop, etc. And then I have Etienne Bosso Photography, where very recently I started to only share work that I found more interesting. I found it's more me, what I want to do, and guess what? I got much, much less likes on this picture. Because they're not the wow photo that everyone wanted to see, that everyone is used to see. There are photos that are a little bit different, a little bit more, you need to spend more time looking at them to understand that. Maybe they don't work, I'm just experimenting. Maybe the photo, I look at it in next month, I'll be like, this is terrible, why did I put that online? But this is what I want to do, because I want to explore more my own thing.
So basically, in terms of photography, of your passion and your actual profession, you have to compartmentalize everything?
Once again, it depends on everyone, it depends on the field of photography you do,
Yes.
but you need to leave the room to express yourself. Do not shoot what people expect to see, because you're going to end up shooting the same things over and over again. Create that Instagram account with a fake name, not telling anyone, start putting photos there, see what happens. You won't have maybe the same number of likes that your other profile, but maybe the people who like your photos are more interesting people. And to me, if I have 10,000 people who like my photos, and if I have 2 photographers that I think very high of them who like my photos, is worth much more than the 10,000 people. So who likes your photos? Who? If a photographer you really like their work, like your photo, and tell you, this is very interesting. That's all I need.
Alright, just 2 more things from me. Please like my photos. Alright, and a more serious note, if you were to go back to a 50mm, I think it would be very different. What are your thoughts on that?
I went back to the 50mm. I went back to the wide open 50mm because I missed it. You know, I cannot go from shooting something I love to completely stop it. I spent the first 6 months, the first year with my 35mm, and after 1 year I was like, I haven't shot a good portrait in 1 year. I like a nice close-up portrait, so I didn't know myself what to say. I was telling people, I was teaching people, you know, stop getting close and shoot portraits of old ladies. They all look the same, you know. Go wide, include more elements in your frame, tell more interesting stories, get more interesting compositions. But then I take a close-up portrait with a very blurry background and I'm like, yes! So it feels good. So I went back to the 50mm, but I would only use it for close-up portrait. It's not something I would be walking around the streets with. It's a lens I would put on if I know the portrait of the month is right here, I would try to. And once again, portrait, to me, has to be creative. Yeah, the portrait. The thing with portraits, they can all look the same. You take a nice person in front of a nice background and you put them on the thirds. Take 600 photos like this, kind of start look all the same. So still, you need to be creative with your portrait. You need to come up with original portraits. But do what you love at the end. You cannot force yourself too much.
Alright, final question for me before Constance close. Now that you have gone back to the 50, is there any significant difference in terms of your creativity workflow from before and after, especially the hiatus?
Indeed. Well, that's a good thing, I guess, yeah? I didn't get to shoot the same things again. Even though the idea is still the same, I found a subject I think is going to work well with the 50 with a wide aperture. which was the same idea I had 3 years ago. But people evolve, things evolve. So I'm working more on local light, I'm working more on lines, on colors, on waiting for the moments. Before I was a bit in a rush, you know, you take a close-up portrait of someone you don't know, you feel you gotta rush it, because you're in that space, you're in a private space, you're like, oh, okay, like, oh, thank you, sorry, and you're gonna walk away, okay? The goal for me now is to really try to, I'm gonna spend half an hour chatting with my subject before I even put the camera up, because I wanna get the shot, I wanna take my time. And the more I will speak with my subject, the more I will know about my subject. And I'll speak to you for 10 minutes, and I know how old you are, and where do you live, and what is your job. But what I noticed is your pearl earring has such a nice catchlight on the side. And I'm gonna focus my portrait on your earring. But if I stayed far away with my big zoom lens, or if I just came to rush to you to take my photo, I would just take my classic portraits. So, as I talked about before about the composition, analyze your scene, analyze your light, analyze your background, analyze your subject, and come up with something more interesting.
All right, thank you.
Okay, one more question before we close this dialogue. Yeah, I know you have been a judge for quite a number of competitions, and there are lots of photos that you have judged before, and some of them are like staged photos. What's your take on this as a judge on these sort of photos in terms of composition and in terms of creativity?
They are creativity killers. As simple as that. So my next presentation is about the ethics of photography, because I'm pissed off. Sorry. I'm not pissed off at people, at photographers. I'm pissed off at photography competitions. Because competitions today become a money-making thing. So you see so many new, every year there are like 100 new competitions you never heard about. You don't know who's judging. You don't know if you're going to get a prize. You've never heard about the names, etc. It's just a very easy way to make money. And because the people who start that are business people, they're not photographers. Oh, I saw a great photo of a fisherman with a cormorant, you know, with the mountains of China behind. So beautiful. I'm going to make it win. That photo has been done 1 million times before. And only a photographer can know that, because a photographer spends his days on Instagram looking at everyone's photos. And, you know, this is what we do. We look at photos online. We put a photo. We look at what other people post. We try to get inspiration. So the competitions are not giving the wrong idea to people. Okay, you want to make it? You want to be famous? Well, you got to win a competition. And we like these kind of photos. So you're going to go to Bagan and stage a little monk reading a book in a smoky room, you know. Novice don't like to read books in the dark, in a smoky room. It's not real, okay? So I'm going to talk about that briefly, just now. But I don't think this is something you should try to follow. At the end, you do what you want, of course, but I'm a teacher. And I try to push people to be more creative, to do something different. And copying a photo, which is a copy of someone who shot that in the 1950s for the first time. That was a great photo in the 1950s, I guess. It's not original anymore. So as a judge, I see a photo like this, I don't even look at it. Just out.
Okay, thank you very much, Etienne.
Right.
Thank you.
Now we move on to an interesting topic, the ethics of photography. All right, this is one topic that is very seldom covered in any talks or workshop.
Thank you. I'm going to keep this one quite short, because this is something I've been talking about before. So I don't want to do the same presentation I did last year in Kuala Lumpur. If you're interested, go have a look on the website. Look in the search box for ethics. You'll find the article about ethics of photography. It was an hour presentation. I'm not going to do that again with you. I'm going to try to summarize it, but this applies exactly to the question Constance just asked me. So, when doing travel photography, when traveling to remote locations, I think one needs to ask themselves the notion of authenticity. What is authentic? You're gonna travel to Myanmar and you want to photograph the monks walking with their umbrella because this is what Myanmar is. But today, the monks don't have umbrellas anymore. They wear Coca-Cola t-shirt, not the monks, but you imagine going into a place in a village where people dress traditional. Sorry, no, they don't dress traditional anymore. They wear t-shirts and jeans. This is what is authentic today. And travel photography, if you look up at the definition of travel photography online, it's about capturing the essence of a place, of its people, of its culture, of its architecture, of the way people look, the way people live. So you're gonna come somewhere and think, well, I actually wanted this old man to be dressed traditionally with his bow and arrow and shoot some birds in the jungle, and you're disappointed it doesn't happen. You're disappointed. Why? Because you saw that photo winning a competition. And you thought, you're going to find that. So these winning competition photos, first they fool people. They pretend that this is what you're going to find when you travel there. You'll be disappointed not to find that. And you can be tempted to say, okay, can you go wear your old, not traditional clothes, please, and stay in that nice light and do like this with your bow and arrow? This is not authentic. This is not what is today. And you're going to come up with a photo that you like because you control the scene, the scene, and you have a nice light, and you have a nice background, etc. But in terms of creativity, what is it going to bring you? I want you to stand in the light under that tree. I want to put you on the thirds, and I will balance you with that very nice looking tree on the other thirds. What you're going to come up with is him on the thirds and that tree on the other thirds. Where is the excitement? Where is the unexpected thing that gives you a unique composition? Telling stories. You want to tell stories of the place you go to. You want to show the bridges of Penang. You want to show, I don't know, wherever you go, whatever you do. It is not your story. You're photographing, you're not taking, okay, take selfies. Yeah, this is your story. Make it up the way you want. Put some makeup, put yourself in front of tropical islands and pretend to be happy. And it's your story. It's what you do. If you photograph something else, if you photograph people, this is not your story, this is their story. And I think as a photographer, and I think Wesley, where's Wesley? He's gone. I think Wesley put that really well earlier. You have a responsibility. With all the technology we have, taking photos, we have a responsibility to show things the way they are. If you don't do that, it's fine. If you're a commercial photographer, you need to produce a book for a company. You need to set up a model. You're a fashion photographer. You don't take candid photos when you do fashion photography. You have a model that you pay, that you set up. It's fine. You can be a conceptual photographer and take this old man with a bow and arrow with a nice flash, soft light. But you're going to say that you do it. You're not going to say, oh, I was walking around the jungle and saw this man and took a photo. Because that is just lying. Okay? And I hope your mom told you when you were young that lying is not good. So as we talked about, yeah? What's your goal? What's your goal? Is your goal to be popular? To get likes on social media? Is your goal to win competitions? Actually, I have a question for you. What do you do once you win a competition? I see a lot of that. I have a lot of friends, young photographers in Bangladesh, and they really like photography competitions. They enter competitions, and once in a while on Facebook, I see one of them wins a competition. So the classic, how do they say? Alhamdulillah, thank you, I win this competition, and all their friends, congratulations, congratulations. What's next? They got emailed by the New York Times to be the new photographer. They start selling $1 million prints. That doesn't happen. Even look at the number of competitions there. There's so many of them, you don't keep up anymore. You won a competition I never heard about. Well, what would I care? What do you do once you win a competition? You feel, your ego feels very good. But the day after, what do you do? This doesn't help your creativity. I love competition, though, if you take them the right way. If the competition is about a body of work, and it forces you to work on a story. Instead of going around taking pretty photos, I'm going to find a subject and I'm going to spend 2 months with it. And I'm going to shoot it in different ways. And I'm going to come up with a story, with a body of work that will help this person, that will empower this person, and that will make my creativity evolve. Because I'm not going to take that one picture, I'm going to have to try different angles and this and that and relate my photos together and then selecting the photos, which photo goes well to tell you a story, and it has to go up and down and it has to flow. So this is a good exercise. Like, I encourage you to enter competitions if you think they're going to help you to boost your creativity. And then it's about you. Okay, we're going to talk about that this afternoon, the creativity part. But how do you come up with unique work? You know, the goal of every photographer is like, if I put a photo online and someone sees it without my name, they think, oh, that looks like Etienne's photo. You find a style, you find your unique vision that is yours only. Trying to copy photos that someone shot before, trying to get inspired a little bit too much by what other photographers do, is not helping you. And the question you have to ask yourself, and we're going to talk about that this afternoon a lot, is you. What do you like? Your friend in Penang told you, let's go take landscape photos together. And you go with them because they're your friends and you enjoy it, but you realize you're bored. You like flowers more. You like birds. You like people, like me. Do what you feel is right for you. Follow your passion. Follow something. It has to make you feel involved. If you got to wake up at 4 in the morning to shoot it, you cannot wake up and think, oh, I got to wake up, shoot another bird. Like, if you don't like it, you got to feel, okay, today I'm going to get it. This is the shot. This is the subject I'm looking for. This is the story that makes me feel I'm involved in it. There you go. I wrote that this morning. This is about you, yeah? The true creativity comes from you. The thing you have to understand is that you are unique. We are all unique. We are different people. We are from different cultures. Malaysia is amazing. Number of culture mixing together. Everyone is different. Everyone likes different things. Everyone has different feelings. Everyone has different interests and speaks different languages and grew up in different families. Express that through your photography. Don't try to copy what someone else did because they're not you. And you're going to express your own vision better than anyone else. And this is when true originality, the uniqueness of your work comes from. So, we'll talk. I have a bit of a question for you this afternoon, but some way to try to ask yourself the right questions. It's about asking yourself, what do you actually want to do? What makes you feel? What would make you feel involved? Because if you're not involved, if you don't have the passion, you're not going to work hard enough. You're not going to put yourself out of your comfort zone to come up with something different. If it's too easy, stop doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Etienne. All right, now Mr. Etienne will open to dialogue from all of you from the floor. So this is the time to ask questions. Okay?
Please, tricky ones.
Please come up and ask your questions. Raise your hands and then we shall pass you the microphone.
Yes.
Hello. Etienne, my name is Eddie. Yeah.
Hi.
You spoke about ethics, photographing pictures, travel pictures especially. Yeah, there's a big debate on this, whether the picture is authentic or staged. Of course, when you stage your picture, it must be real. It cannot be something that is obscure. For example, like what you mentioned just now, novice monk read a book in the dark or under a beam of ray, that is ridiculous. But if you could stage a picture that is authentic, meaning that there's no light, but there's with side lights or window lights, is it acceptable?
Everything is acceptable as long as you don't lie about it. You do what you want, people. You do what you want. You build a fake bird made of fake feathers, put it on a tree and shoot it. But you're not gonna say, hey, I shot this bird, I got it. It was very difficult, but I got it. This is lying. You gotta be true to yourself because everyone is gonna find out. You look in the world we live in today, everyone finds out. All these photographers, they have this huge career. Someone finds out they Photoshop one image. Their career is over. This is done. The other thing though, you're gonna stage something that is real, that is happening. My question is why? Why wouldn't you go and try to capture it without staging it? If it's here, if it's happening. I feel it would be a bit too... I did stage photos, okay? My first trip to Myanmar 7 years ago. I was going to Myanmar to build an itinerary for the photo tour. I had to come home with a great photo. I had to sell this tour. I arrived in Bagan, I went to the temple, I went to see the monk and I said, can I borrow some of your novice for the morning? And he was like, sure. Okay, that's easy. So I took these two novices, or one of them actually, and I put him with an umbrella walking in front of a temple, and I took the shot. And I didn't feel good about myself. I got the shot. First, the shot was boring, because it was too predictable. And second, I just didn't feel good. I came home and I said, it's a nice shot. Personally, I didn't feel good about it. It was just too easy. It was not something I learned. I didn't learn anything from this experience. I just had this bitter taste in my mouth, like it was not real. Of course, everyone has different expectations regarding their photography and their creativity, the way they're ready to push themselves. But if a scene is real, let's go shoot it.
So what is real and what is not real, like what you say, and what is acceptable and what is not acceptable?
What is real is what is real.
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Yes.
Like I see your picture just now, the monk, the little monk with the candles.
Yeah, that was not my picture, by the way.
Okay, all right. Because you, okay, fine. But what would you say about that picture, Your honest opinion,
My honest opinion is that I've seen that picture a million times and I'm fed up seeing that picture. And if I see that picture winning a competition one more time, I'm going to write a big blog post about how this competition is bullshit.
Now, my question would be, is it real? Is it acceptable that it can be done? Because looking at it, it's not a real posing picture. It's possible.
Yeah, I do not think they enjoy staying in rooms with that much smoke. It
No,
hurts their
no.
eyes. No, but I see what you mean. It can be real. I'm a Frenchman. Let's say I'm a 70 years old Frenchman. I've never traveled outside of France in my life. I see this, I think, wow, it's amazing. It looks so beautiful. I have no idea it's real or it's not real. Okay? You can easily fool people by... But the goal of this photo is just to create something beautiful. Oh, look at this light and this light beams and it's beautiful. No one is gonna judge. I mean, I will. It's all about yourself. We're talking about creativity here. Okay, things can be real, things can be fake. If you shoot something like the monk in a temple and you say that you put the smoke there and you put the monk there because you wanted to create this eerie feeling of it's fine, it's conceptual photography, it's not travel photography. So put the right name on what you do and do not lie about it because people are going to find out. And it's not going to be fun for you. I don't know if I answered your question correctly. But we're talking about authenticity, we're talking about culture. What is culture? The culture of Malaysia yesterday is different from the culture of Malaysia today. There's a new music video that came out and people are influenced by it. There's a new food dish that came out that people are influenced by. There's a new prime minister. Okay? The culture is changing. Okay? What is real today is not real tomorrow. So the question, I think we need to write a book to answer your question about what is real, what is not real, because culture is always changing, always evolving. So it would be difficult to define what is real and not.
Okay, any more questions? let's keep them coming.
Hello, Etienne. My name is Mike, right?
Hi.
I mean, Eddie took one of my questions away, right? So, but did a good job of it. So, a couple of things, right? I've looked up your photographs before I came here this morning. Are we going to hear this afternoon about photographic technique? Because, you know, you're a very good photographer, and that's really what I want to learn from you.
Thank you.
So the question is, are we going to hear about photographic technique? That's the first question.
That's not the topic of my talk today. You can hear all about it because it's all on the website. I teach online. Everything I do, everything I teach is on the website in tutorials and articles. But this is not what I came here to do today. So if we have time, I'm happy to talk about it. But today we talk about creativity and how you can try to come up with more unique work and put your own vision into your picture.
Okay, so if you're talking about unique work and you're talking about creativity, when you're doing the portrait photos that we saw before, are you giving that particular person an incentive to pose for you?
No, I would. So for me, there's no satisfaction in a relationship with my subject if there is no exchange. You look at the world. You're taking a photo of someone. I'm not going to take a photo of them and not giving them something back. Okay, and I'm not talking about money because very, very touchy topic here. Giving money to people when traveling. Okay, my view on it is I try to do it as little as possible because you arrive in a village, you take photo, you give money. Foreigners equal money. Then the next day you come to the same village, take photo, they're gonna come and ask you for $1. It spoils people, but you can give something back. You can give them a picture. You can come and sponsor an NGO if you really want to, that helps the village, but you can mostly give them the time to the interaction. And it happens a lot, mostly in Vietnam, because I can speak with the people in Vietnam, but I bring a group of 6 people in an old lady's home because I know her and we come in and the light is great and the background is great and we're all taking a photo and we chat with her for half an hour and she's laughing and then we leave and we say goodbye and she says thank you. Happens all the time because we gave her something back. She asked me, where are these people from? And they always go and touch my hair, you know. Like they don't see, if you travel to places where people don't travel much, they're very curious about you. They want to know about you. They want to find out where you're from, what you do, how old you are, and do people in your country do this or not? So it's actually an interesting way. Okay, it's actually an interesting way to approach people. Because if you realize that people are curious, you're going to go and open yourself to them. But yes, to answer your questions, I would not feel satisfied by just taking a photo walking away. Like you take something from people and your duty as a photographer is somehow to give them something back.
Any more questions? Okay, at the back.
Hello, my name is Tony. Good morning.
Morning.
Now the question I like to ask is now I think many people would like to know whether the images just now you have been telling be truthful about the images, but the things nowadays many images have been created in PS, Photoshop. They take things away, they add things. There's an incident not long ago about this Steve McCurry.
I heard about him, yeah?
Yeah, they've been find out they have put something and take something away. I don't know whether this one is true or not. So about this kind of things, what is your view about it?
It's the same as what we talked about before. Sorry, before I answer this question, Mike, your question earlier, we have a photography workshop tomorrow where we're going to talk about the techniques and everything. Again, your first question. It's exactly what we talked about before. If you go and stage a photo and you say it's staged, it's fine with that. The problem, what happened with Steve McCurry, is he called himself a photojournalist. And then It removes something from his picture. I'm happy. I have a small black thing floating on the water behind my subject. I'm going to remove it. I'm not a photojournalist. I'm a travel photographer. If that distracts my composition, if that brings me away from my main subject, from the elements I want to show, if it's not something huge, of course, it's a small thing, I'm going to remove it. I don't have any problem with that because I'm not a photojournalist. So it depends who you call yourself. And if you're a landscape photographer, you have to edit your pictures because, you know, the sky is very bright and the mountain is darker and you need to pop these colors and you need to create areas of light to lead the eyes through the picture. It's something like landscape photographers have always done. Ansel Adams was the first one to spend countless hours in the darkroom to play with his pictures. So it is necessary for certain fields of photography, but now photojournalism, because of the recent scandals that happen, is getting more and more strict. Like as a photojournalist today, you have to shoot JPEG. You're not even allowed to shoot RAW anymore because you need to give them the original picture. Because this is what photojournalism is to show the place the way it is. So define yourself as a photographer. Ask yourself, what kind of photographer do I want to be? And if you want to stage apples and bananas on the table, because this is your thing, but it's great, do it. You know, this is your thing. It's going to make you feel happy to wake up in the morning. So it's about you at the end. So understand yourself. We'll talk about that this afternoon.
Thank you.
Next.
Hi, Faisal here. What's your opinion about taking pictures of people and they don't know that you take of them? 'Cause I like to take on my Zoom. That's as natural as you can get. It's not staged, and you were making a point about don't stage your pictures, just keep it real. I take a lot with my Zoom, and sometimes I get good pictures.
This is fine. We were discussing before. I'm not a zoom lens guy. My biggest zoom is 50mm, my biggest focal length, because I like the people. I like the interaction. I like to get close and talk to them. If you and I go on a safari in Africa now, I bet you'll come out with better photos than me. Because my little 35mm lens will not allow me to get too close to the lion, while you're going to be able to shoot it. So, depends on the kind of photography you do. In terms of creativity, though, this is something I see a lot. I see a lot of Westerners coming to Asia. And for Westerners, it's quite difficult to get close to people. Mostly the Americans, the British. You know, it's like, wow, don't get too close, they're comfort zone, you're not allowed to get too close, and talk to them. Oh my God, you're going to intrude in their private life. And this is Asia. You cannot look at things with your Westerners' culture, with your ethno-culturist point of view. You have to look at things the way people look at things where you travel. So when I see this, the people come traveling to Asia with a big zoom lens, there's the same pattern happening a lot. Okay? Because I have a big zoom lens, I don't need to get close to John. I don't need to go talk to him. I don't really want to go talk to him because maybe he's going to ask me for $1 and I don't want to give him. So I have my big zoom lens and I'm going, oh, he doesn't see me here. And I'm going to take my photo. And we're going to see someone over there. I'm thinking, oh, that's nice. They don't see me anymore. Take my photo. Where is the work around the composition then? If I want to take a photo of John, but I want to change my background, I'm going to have to walk to you to change my background. It's going to take me 2 minutes. John is going to be gone by the time. Shooting with a zoom lens restricts your creativity because you're very quick to point and shoot, and the work of the composition, of the light, of the background, of the foreground, and then on the subject itself kind of goes to the trash. By getting close to John, I'm going to realize, oh, his hat is very interesting. I'm going to realize, oh, his hat, the flag on his hat is the same as the flag on his polo. I like this. And maybe the yellow of something on the table is the same yellow as his shirt. So I'm going to try to put things together. From far away, we tend to not see these things. So creativity-wise, of course we don't talk about wildlife photography. Creativity-wise, I'm always trying to push people to get close. This is one of the first things I tell people on the workshop is you get close, and you are never too close. The closer you are, the more flexible you will be to change your background, change your foreground, etc., and seeing more things on your subject. It makes it easy. It makes it easy, right? But what did we talk about before? If it's easy, you're probably doing it wrong. Questions?
Anybody? Albert?
Morning, Indian.
Morning.
My name is Albert. Since you have been judging photography contest, is it whether you like it or not? Most winning photographs are being staged.
More and more, yes.
It's a fact of life. Is it? I want your opinion on this.
My opinion on this is that we need serious photography competitions. I could name 5 of them on the top of my head, which you could trust are serious photography competitions. A lot of, even of the big prestigious competitions, you don't even know who's judging, what's going on. You see the winner photo. I've been disappointed in so many photography competitions. The first year, the second year, like, great stuff, great, I got the energy. The third year, you're like, yeah, okay. They're back into the staging just to make the pretty picture win, to make people happy. There's also a lot of politics involved. My take on this is I want to build my own photography competition. I want to make it free. Not free, because I'm going to have to look at millions of photos. As little fee as possible. And I want to have real photographers who live in Asia, who are experienced traveling in Asia, who know what they're doing to judge these competitions. And only judge the photos that award the photos, which show real creativity, something we've never seen before. That would be, in my opinion, what a good photography competition is. The problem is, the photo that I love, that I've never seen before, which is this great, intricate composition with many layers, most people are not going to get it. So, my photo competition, the winner, the press is going to be like, I don't understand this picture. It's not a cute kid with smoke in the background. So it's going to be more difficult, and it's back to the ethics. Do you do things for popularity, or do you do things for yourself? Back to what you're ready to do for your photography. If you're a hobbyist photographer, you have the chance to not have to make money with your photo. You have a real job. Maybe you hope to be a photographer. Sorry, but you're going to have to shoot a few weddings first. Time to make things happen. But if it's a hobby photographer, you don't have to try to please people around you. You only need to please yourself. Do that. You're going to be happier. And you're going to come up with more original work. Yes? Yes. So, I'm talking about something cannot be staged. We're talking travel photography here, yeah? We're not talking commercial photography, fashion photography, or... We're talking travel photography. Yes. Yes, yes. So, it's your values. You can take a very boring photo of a canyon with a beam of light in that everyone has taken 10,000 times in the past and sell it for, how much? $4.2 million? Something like this, because you're very good at marketing and selling yourself. If you can go to sleep at night after that, it's fine, you're rich. If you feel like maybe you've done something not right, so we all have different values, we all have different expectations, yeah? At the end, follow what you feel is right for yourself. But you need to put food on the table. I have kids to put through school, okay? I take jobs all the time. I do family photo shoots. I do extremely boring hotel shoots because I need to make a living as well. So you need to balance the things you do today. Maybe you're not going to be keen to do them tomorrow. The things you did yesterday, today you think, I hope I never have to do that again. But you need to put priorities on the table as well, financial or personal. So if your hobby is photographer, it's easier because it's just for fun. If you're a professional photographer and you sell prints, you know this print is going to sell more than this one, and go and sell it. But you need to leave the room for the creative side. Even if you don't share them, even if you don't print them, you need to continue your personal work. A lot of photographers work full-time, they're big names, full-time. They have their personal projects on the side you never hear about. They spend 5 years working on something. After 5 years, they think it's good enough, they're going to publish it. And it's just personal. Or to help, maybe the people that photograph.
Okay.
Hi, Tian. Azman here. I have a question because you're talking about creativity. I want to stress on the fact that there seems to be like trend, like lens culture, the shock and awe photos. The idea is that in order to be seen as nouveau, to be avant-garde, is that the more shock and awe you do, you get recognition. And personally for me, I don't want to get out of my comfort zone and to do something because it's trendy. What's your viewpoint? Because there was one photography competition, this young woman, because this I'm talking about younger people who want to experiment. She won a portrait photography for a portrait of her grandmother, which doesn't exist. Yeah, think about that. I mean, there's no picture of her grandmother, yet it was called My Grandmother. I mean, it is that kind of a thing, because it gives you the impression that you want to go even beyond outside the box. This is totally zany, and yet it is considered wow, So people are telling, hey, that's fantastic, So your viewpoint.
I personally didn't think that was wow when I saw it. I was like, is this bullshit or is this wow? I'm still not sure about that. It's art. You cannot question art. You know what I mean? Some people will exhibit their own feces on a frame and say it's art and sell it for a lot of money. Okay, what do you think of that? Some people will say, yeah. The fact of always trying to run on the new thing. I need to do the photo that no one has done before. I need to shoot the thing that never been done before. You're trying too hard. You're trying too hard to please the people, to do something that will shock the people. You're not really doing what you want to do. Okay, I think there's only a few percentage of people on this planet who really have this crazy, and I say crazy, creative mind. Like a real, proper, crazy artist. When you meet him in the street, you're like, wow, this guy is nuts. And he's got this creative thing happening, okay? I think only a few people are like this, but you cannot really try to push yourself to come up with this new thing that no one thought about, because first, you're not 16 years old, and in the world we live in today, you need to be onto the new things, to be able to come up with the new things, yeah? With all this new social media, all this new technology, we haven't seen the new photography from tomorrow, because it doesn't exist yet. We haven't seen the new job from tomorrow. Yeah, my wife asked me, what do you think kids are going to do as a job in the future? I told her, they're going to do a job that doesn't exist today. It's evolving so fast, things are changing. It's the same for the photography. You cannot know what's going to happen tomorrow. You're going to have these crazy people to come up with new things. Same answer, I'm going to tell you again, do what you feel is your thing. And don't try to push yourself to do something that you think people will like. Because you're not true to yourself. Okay, we got one more down there.
Hi, my name's Lok. I've got a question on ethics. Is it okay to post pictures of other people's children on the internet? For example, in Myanmar, when I took out my camera, the parents actually asked the children to pose for me. So, they were willing participants.
Asian parents love their children. And it's very typical to walk around a village and have the grandmother come with a kid in the arm and have the group of photographers take my kid's photo. They love because they're very proud of their kids. And for them, the foreigner, the stranger is going to come take photo of their kids. Hey, see, my kid is cute. They're taking their photo. do that in the US. Good luck with you, yeah? So it's different cultures, different values. It's a different topic. I take photos of children, sometimes, less and less, because they get a bit too much the same. I put them on social media, okay? Because I think it's an interesting picture, because of the composition, because of the light, because of the moments, not just the kid. So I'm keen to do that, but I got the, like, I live in Asia, yeah? I don't think about shocking someone's feeling, because you're always going to hurt someone's feeling. There's always someone who's going to complain. Put a photo of kids. How dare you put photo of kids on social media? The parents don't even agree on that. Sorry, I hurt your feelings, but I don't care, honestly. So, to a certain degree, like, I would not take photo of, naked children swimming in the river all the time, everywhere you go. I'm not going to take photos of naked children, put them on social media, for example. I feel this is wrong. Myself, this is my own value from my own culture. There's no answer to that, I'm sorry. There is no, someone will always be offended, and someone will always think, it's fine, don't worry about it. So, once again, what do you feel is wrong? What do you feel is the limit? But you have to be somehow culturally aware of where you go. You cannot go around Malaysia, take photos, and take the same photos of the same thing in the US. Because the culture is different. You cannot do this, and you cannot do that in the same place. Yeah.
Any more? You still have time.
Yes.
Who accredited you as a photographer?
Sorry?
Who accredited you as a photographer?
I did. I bought my first camera 10 years ago, and I had no idea what I was doing. And I had a job at the time, a real job, working for someone. I spent 2 years shooting. After 6 months, I quit my job, and I just spent 1.5 years shooting every day because I fell in love with it. And one day, I was broke. I had no money because I had no job. And before my dad forced me to go home because I had no job and, just enjoying Asia, I thought I would try to run a photography tour in Hoi An. And I designed my brochure, and on the brochure I wrote, Etienne Bosso is a professional photographer living in Vietnam. That day, I was a professional photographer. Sounds easy, right? What is the definition of a professional photographer? Is it someone who has a diploma on the wall, or is it someone who makes a living from his photography? What does that mean to have a degree? I hang out with a lot of photographers now who come and run workshops with me because I invite a lot of photographers to run the tours with me, and some of them have studied photography. And all of them tell me, they didn't learn much about photography when they learn photography. They learn about preparing contracts for the client, dealing with payments. And mostly what they got is they got contacts. Their teacher was the editor of that magazine that gave them their first job when they finished university. So they got the degree in photography, which maybe helped them a little bit, but from what most of them tell me, they didn't learn much more. So I do not do photo competitions. I do not enter competition myself because having a diploma on the wall is not going to make me a better photographer. What's going to make me a better photographer is to take my camera and go and shoot. And this is what I try to push people to do, and to push you to think about what you want to go shoot tomorrow. What is going to make you vibrate, this is what I need. This is what I want to shoot. I'm involved in this thing. Call yourself a photographer. Don't call yourself a photographer. Honestly, who cares except yourself? Yeah? Yeah. Well, my ethic is, if you make money from photography, are you a photographer? I believe you are. Do you need to have a university degree to call yourself a photographer? I don't believe so. Yeah, a painter. Did Vincent van Gogh study painting at university? I don't believe he did, yeah?
Thank you. Who else? Next question.
Hi, my name is Sue. I would like to find out if you do on travels, especially. So sometimes you might come something like interesting view, so you just shoot up, but you don't know who is it, okay? Of course, you just run off. So one day, your photo is out somewhere. You're in trouble, you think?
So, model release, okay? Model release really applies to commercial work. If I take a photo of you on the street without knowing you, and I sell this photo for L'Oreal Paris, and they put it big. I made money with this particular picture. I do need a model release. Okay, I do need you to sign a paper and agree with that. If I take a photo of you and the composition is interesting, and I put it on my Instagram because the photo is interesting. I'm not using it on commercial purpose. I'm not making money out of this photo per se, just on the moment. If I had to put this photo in my gallery and sell it as a print, you may come and trouble me. Probably. It's very difficult though. Yeah, you're hired by a magazine to travel to these remote parts and to take photos of people. And you come back and give them the photo and they say, okay, can you send us the model release now? Excuse me? That old 90 years old lady who doesn't speak a word of my language, you want me to make her sign a paper? Really? You think she's gonna sign a paper she doesn't understand? No one does that. It's a tricky subject, and I know some magazines I've worked in the past told me, just send us anything. Send us a paper, so we cover. It's not really legal, but they try to protect themselves. But it's not honestly feasible. You cannot go in the middle of nowhere and take photos of people, and every time you take photo of someone, ask them to sign a paper for you. That's not gonna happen. So I don't really care about that. I don't really deal with that because I'm not doing that I'm not the commercial photographer who's gonna take photo of someone and make sell this actual picture. I use my photos for social media and to illustrate my tutorials on the website, for example. For photography competitions, yeah? That's a good question.
Back the title to them.
No, yeah. No, that is a good question actually. I don't know about photography. I've never looked into the law, that side of the law, yeah? If you apply one of your pictures with someone for a photography competition and you somehow win a prize with it, do you have to have a model release? I don't know. Anyone? You need? Yeah? You should. So you can travel in Kuala Lumpur and you can meet people in the street and easily talk to them. They understand about signing a paper and what is law. You travel to the jungle of the Chin state at the border with Bangladesh and Myanmar, good luck.
Any more?
There's a rule between model release and you are shooting in public area. Okay, I come from a background where I shoot a lot. When you shoot in a public area, it's free for all, right? And of course, you are very right. If I'm going to sell it for commercial, I need a model release. But if it's an editorial release, you do not need a model release. All right? Thanks.
Thank you.
Next question.
Hi, Etienne. I'm very curious as a photographer. When you're not conducting tours and when you're not doing work, what kind of photography do you do?
So when I'm not traveling around,
Like when you're not working or when you're not doing, when you shoot for yourself. Yes. What do you shoot?
First, good question. First, I never shoot for myself because I don't have the time. I shoot every day. Every day I'm with a group teaching photography. So I shoot with them somehow. The time I shoot by myself is for my children. Yeah, I pick up the camera, I take my kids to the beach, and this is private, this is for me, for my kids. I don't do enough of that because, you know, after shooting every day, you come home, you don't want to touch the camera somehow. But my personal project is actually my kids, trying to shoot them year after year and see them evolve. I don't have a specific like project name, title, or concept on what I'm just shoot my kids because I want to remember. But yeah, I know I have a few personal projects, ideas in mind that I will probably have time to start working on in the next couple of years, hopefully, if I manage to be less busy. But yeah, no, I don't really do that.
Yeah, Etienne, I would like to ask who are your current inspiration and what are your inspirations from the past when you started?
Okay, that's a good question. So, I think every travel photographer had Steve McCurry. Think about it. Someone told me that some months ago, and I never thought about it. You have the fashion photographers. I don't know them. You have the big names in wildlife photography and the commercial work, the people who shoot the president and everything. Think about travel photography. You got Steve McCurry, and then you got everyone else. It's funny though, you know, he's the famous one. He's the most popular one that everyone knows. So you start with Steve McCurry. Of course, Steve McCurry's images are great. Steve McCurry's images were great. Something has changed. It's not as interesting personally. It's not as interesting as before. Inspiration comes to me today from street photography. As I told you before, I'm trying to the genre, you know, landscape, travel, people, streets. It's all blurry. The line between all these things is blurry. I like street photography because it's difficult, because it's all about capturing that perfect moment. It's all about being at the right place in the right time and seeing things happen before they happen. So it's a good exercise if you want to improve your travel photography. But my greatest inspiration is my subject. The creativity I get, the different composition I have, is because of my subject. It's because I do not stage my subject. I arrive in a scene and I see these people work and I think I'm going to shoot that. And I go down and I do that. They all move carrying a basket, this, and everything has changed. My idea is rubbish. I have to try something else. So I move and I move and I move and I move. Okay, I'm going to put my subject here with that background. And the moment I take the shot, my subject does that because he's calling his friend. Wow. You think I would have thought about that? Never, ever would have thought about it. My subject, the way they react, because I don't stage them, but because I interact with them. If I take a portrait, I'm going to be talking with people almost at the same time I take the picture. Make them smile, make them look up, make them look down, make them point somewhere. I say, oh, where is your village? And they're going to point over there, and I'm going to try to capture this thing. That thing, I cannot predict it. This is what makes a photo original, unique. It's not something you think, it's not predictable. Something else I had to say. I forgot. It was pretty good. I forgot. Anyway, that's why I like people photography, because a scene which is boring now is going to be very interesting in 30 seconds, because people move back and forth, the light changes, lots of things happen. So I talk about that later this afternoon. For me, the people photography field is the field where you can be the most creative. I appreciate landscape photographers, but I get bored. It's not my thing. You arrive here, you have your scene. I feel I'm not in control. I feel I want to move the mountain a bit closer because it's too far away, and I want to move this rock over there because it's not in the right place. For people photography, you can move, or you can wait for them to move. Things happen fast, and you arrive somewhere you don't have any idea, and then suddenly you see these 3 people coming together in front of this nice background, and you get ready for it. And things happen like this. So it's a very good way to learn. It's a very good way to keep you on your toes, make you reactive, make you fast, and anticipating the action. So the people, my subjects, are actually my greatest inspiration, I think.
Okay. Michael.
Etienne,
Yes.
we're doing a lot of talking, right? I've come here to be inspired. You're a very good photographer. This morning, one of the topics was composition. So are we going to see more photos of you that you've done to inspire us with the good composition that you do so we can learn from it?
Yeah, we can do that. I have a few photos to show this afternoon. I'm actually thinking about maybe adding a few more during our lunch break. But I didn't come here to talk about myself. I didn't come here to talk about my photos. I came here to talk about photography and to talk about creativity. Because I don't think talking about myself is going to make me a better photographer. That's simple, very simple. Come tomorrow on the workshop. We'll talk about techniques and composition and things like this. The real learning time.